I am so hungry right now. Chef, released in 2014, and it's directed by Jon Favreau, who's also directed such films like Elf, Iron Man 2, Cowboys and Aliens, and The Jungle Book. And this film is also starring Jon Favreau, Sofia Vergara, John Leguizamo, Scarlett Johansson, Dustin Hoffman, Oliver Platt, Bobby Cannavale, Amy Sedaris, MJ Anthony, and a surprise cameo from Robert Downey Jr. And the reason why we're talking about Chef today is because it was a PayPal recommendation and donation from a longtime contributor and supporter of this channel, James Filbury. Thank you once again for a donation and a recommendation. I have heard nothing but great things about this movie for the last 10 years, but I've never gotten around to watching it. This is my first time viewing it, and I'm satisfied. I had this meal, and I was completely satisfied. So thank you very much, James. If anyone else out there also wants to be like James Filbury and help support me and contribute to this channel, you can select the QR code that's in the bottom left corner of your screen right now. Send over your donation of $5 or more with your movie recommendation, and if I have access to it, I will watch it, review it, and give you a little shout out, just like what I did with James Filbury here. Carl Casper is the head chef at an upscale restaurant in Los Angeles. And as you see this man work, you know that this guy just loves to cook and gets inspired by some great cuisine. But the restaurant owner just wants him to make the standard meals that he's been making the same way for the last 10 years. As a local food critic comes that night to eat all of his standard stuff, the critic roasts Carl, and Carl is so upset that you know what he does? He joins social media. So after a bunch of tirades on the interwebs, Carl quits his head chef job, opens up a food truck where he can make some standard Cuban cuisine, and tours the country. So if any of you are a fan of the Food Network, any TV show about cooking or cooking competition shows, cooking master classes, this is the movie for you. Because this character, this Carl character, who's played by Jon Favreau, he just loves cooking, and he loves food. He finds a passion in it. It's like an aphrodisiac for him. You can see how happy he gets and how elated he gets when he sees a fine piece of meat or great vegetables or just a mixture of produce at the farmer's market as he's walking around that day. He gets inspired. He gets ideas of cool, fresh new things to cook for the restaurant. But his hands are tied because the owner of this restaurant, who shouldn't be owning a goddamn restaurant, let's be honest about it, is restraining him, is restricting him, saying, no, you've been cooking this menu for the last 10 years and we've been doing fine, so do that. And if you are an artist, which I would put cooks in that realm, cooks are absolutely artists with their food and with their imagination and creativity, absolutely artists. When an artist is doing the exact same thing for 10 years, I mean, either they're going to die a miserable, horrible death for not being creative anymore, or one day they're just going to burst and they're going to leave so that they can explore their creative roots more. That's exactly what happens to this character, and it makes me incredibly happy to see someone who has been in the system and has a standard job and is just going from day to day, paycheck to paycheck, just doing the same thing over again, finally take a chance on themselves to do something fun and do something interesting and do something that is innovative, but because they have that inner passion that they just feel in their bones that they can do, you root for them and it works out. For me, watching this movie, I have a little bit of regret because the reason why I started this YouTube channel was because I saw the Best Picture, or at least for 2 minutes, Best Picture winner La La Land, and that movie is about finding your inner happiness before you can get into a relationship with someone else, because if you're not happy, you being with someone, there is no way that you're going to be happy with someone else. And because of that, and my depression at the time, I just had this idea of starting this YouTube channel for the longest time, and after watching that movie that night, I pulled an all-nighter and just figured out everything that I wanted to do. It took me a whole other year to get this channel going and to actually put something out, just to get over the fear of putting out your first thing. But that was the movie that sparked my creative energy, I guess, into starting this YouTube channel. If I would have watched this movie in 2014, I feel like I would have started it then. That's how inspiring this movie is. Just to see a creative who is just bogged down by the man, basically, finally be able to be creative and through that creativeness finds joy and happiness. Yeah, I wish I would have watched it because that would have helped me out couple years earlier than when I got started. Jon Favreau, I think, is great. You can tell that being a chef and cooking is a passion of his, not just in this movie, but also outside of it, and just cooking in general. I haven't gone to culinary school, so I don't know how accurate or how professional how he's making these sandwiches and how he's cutting certain things and the combination of foods that he's putting on a plate. I don't know how professional that is. I feel like every chef out there is a critic themselves, and when they see someone else's dish, they're like, oh, you did that? That's gross. Or at least that's what the Food Network would have me believe after watching a whole bunch of cooking shows. My dish is the best. Ooh, you put that with that? That's gross. That's disgusting. Are you even a chef? Well, I've never gone to culinary school. I do love cooking. I love cooking in my house, and I love cooking for my wife, but that is it. You will never find me in a restaurant. Hell no. I just love this hero's journey of this character and how really everything just works out for him, even though he is in the slumps and he is by far, without a job. He has no hope. He's divorced, or at least separated from his wife. He has a bad relationship with his kid, but through everyone supporting him and helping him out, donating food trucks to him and funds so that he can open a food truck, he manages to make it work and manages to live out his dream and to find that happiness and joy through his passion again. It's nice to have that support system. I think that's the only thing that was taking me out of this movie sometimes. I'm not saying it was a terrible thing. I'm not saying that I was out of it all the time, but there were some points where I was like, okay, this guy has everyone backing him. And yes, he's a cool guy, he's an awesome guy, but there's got to be that one asshole out there that just hates his guts. Or there has to be something here that fails. Yes, he got fired from that terrible job, but as he starts to make it for himself, there was never a day where things were terrible for him. His kid becomes his social media manager because he starts fights on Twitter, and all of a sudden all of these people are just following him, and he gets 10,000 views in like 2 hours. Like, that's bullshit. Why couldn't it be more like a slow start, like me, on YouTube? Come on. Couldn't it be more like my story? Jeez. But you see tremendous growth from this character, in particular with his relationship to his son. There's a beautiful moment in the climax of this movie, and I'm not going to spoil what it is for those of you that haven't seen this film. You absolutely should. But you can see him become a parent more. He invites his kid onto the food truck, and they tour the country with his other chef, and the kid actually helps out in the food truck. He is pressing it. He's toasting the bun. There's actually a moment where he burns it, and he decides to serve it, or at least tries to. And Carl pulls him aside saying, hey, are you bored? Do you not want to be here? Because if you do want to be here, we have to step it up and we have to be professional. And I just love that interaction that he had with this kid. He didn't yell at him. He didn't scold him like my dad would do. That's the only discipline method that he had. He never had a moment where he was like explaining, stern, but explaining and understanding and teaching. All he did was just yell at me if I ever did anything wrong. Yeah, that's right. My dad is awesome. Not. In that moment, just seeing how he's talking to his son as if his son is not his son. He's basically one of his chefs in his kitchen, and he's treating him with respect and professionalism. But you can also see that he's instilling a couple of life lessons into him as well. I just love it. I love that moment, and I love this movie. It made me happy. And that's what a movie should do. When I walk out of a film, I like to feel happy. And that's exactly, absolutely what this film does. You see some great cooking scenes that just make you want to eat. If you're going to watch this film, please do so before dinner, because all you're going to want to do after watching this movie is you want to cook and you want to eat something good and delicious. I'm going to give Chef 4 out of 5 Blu-rays.
I like it a lot.
So guys, if you've seen Chef, what did you think about it? Or if you've never seen it before and you stumbled across because of this video, then comment below and let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you see here, if you like my take on movies, then hit the subscribe button to make sure you hit that bell. See you the next time I release my next movie review. So guys, I will see you next time on the channel, but in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.